Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session on Kubernetes Pods. So, first of all, what is Kubernetes Pods, right? What is pods, right? Well, pods are basically the smallest unit in Kubernetes. Now, what do I mean by that, right? Well, suppose this is a container. We all know that in Kubernetes we always work with containers. Well, here the container is Docker container. It not necessarily has to be a Docker container, but a container. Okay? Now, the container here itself is a separate entity. It is not part of Kubernetes, right? It is a Docker container or a Docker entity. It is not something inside Kubernetes. So, in order to make it come in the ecosystem of Kubernetes or introduce it in the ecosystem of Kubernetes, we need something called pod. Okay? Now, what is a pod? Suppose that this is pod and it is actually like this. By that I am referring that a pod is like a package. Okay, it's like a package. And what do you do here with it? Well, you basically put your container, Docker container, inside the pod. So when you put the container, Docker container, inside the pod, what happens? The container here that you see, the container that you here see, is now a part of Kubernetes. Clear? So basically, the pod is encapsulating or packaging the container. Clear? Well, I can give you another example. Suppose this is a ship, a big ship sailing in the ocean. Okay, Titanic, if you ask me. Okay, this is a ship. Now, in a ship, we all know that there are some lifeboats, right? Suppose these are lifeboats. Please pardon my drawing. Suppose this is a lifeboat. Okay. Now, here is a lone passenger who somehow fell in the sea. Okay. Is he a part of this ship now? No. He is not a part of this of that ship. But if he gets onto this lifeboat here, then he can go back to the ship, right? And be a part of that ship. Similarly, the pod here, as you can see, the pod is actually the lifeboat. It is the pod. It is encapsulating this guy. And this guy is our Docker container here. He is encapsulating, packaging, having it inside so that uh, so that the Docker container becomes a part of Kubernetes. Clear? So this was the basic analogy of Kubernetes pods. Okay. Now, why? I covered the what part. What is Kubernetes? The smallest object in Kubernetes cluster that introduces your container inside the uh, cluster. Okay. But why? Why do we need it? Why do we need pods? Well, in the previous sessions or videos, I have told you that Kubernetes or K8 has some features, right? Like auto scaling, and you have auto healing. So what these two mean? Let me give you a recap. So auto scaling means if you have one container but you need 5 more containers to support your input requests. So you will be creating some more copies of the same container. That is your horizontally scaling. You are creating duplicates and distributing all the loads. Clear? This is called auto scaling. And here auto scaling, the scaling here, that is 1 2 3 or reducing it to just single one, will be done automatically. Okay, Kubernetes can do that. This is a feature. This is auto scaling, scaling up and down regarding our uh, want or necessity. Clear? Now what is auto healing? What is auto healing? Well, auto healing is that you have 2 containers, suddenly one crashed, so Kubernetes will automatically put another new container in its place. This is called auto healing. Now if you want to have these features, or in Kubernetes you have monitoring, you can do monitoring stuffs, logs, right? So if you want to even monitor your container, that whether your container is running perfectly or not, what is the problem. So this type of features, if you want to have these features, basically the features and characteristics and the benefits of using Kubernetes, then you have to introduce your container inside the pod. This is why you have pods. Clear? We do all of these things considering the pod, and the pod has the container. Okay, I think I'm clear on what is Kubernetes pod and why do we need it. Okay, fine. Now let's get to a bit on hands on. Let's do it some practical stuff. So before we can do the hands on, there are some prerequisite. Okay, and it is really important. Prerequisite. The first one is that you should know a bit of Linux. Okay, I'm not telling you that you have to be an pro and know really hardcore Linux commands. No, in order to start or begin, you just need the basics, because in real life or in production, all of our commands, all of our building configuration, all will be in the terminal. All will be using the terminal, not GUI or any graphical interface. Okay, so we'll be needing Linux. With that, we also need to be able to use Vim, Nano, or any other text editor. Because if you want to make a file, if you want to write inside the file, then obviously you need to know how to write it in the text editor, right? So these are some text editors. Anyone? You should know how to write in them, how to access them, how to create file, etc. Okay, then the most important thing that you should know is YAML. YAML is a file format, like you have .png for pictures, right? .jpg. Even for Python you have .py. Similarly, YAML is a format type. We have .yaml or .yml at the end. This is the extension. So it is basically a serialization tool, or you can say format like JSON. Okay, it is easier than JSON, human readable and very easy. If you still don't know, please do a bit research. I have also written a blog on it. You can check that if you need also. Okay, so we are going to be needing Linux and we are going to be needing YAML. The third thing that is needed before you can get into Kubernetes is Kubernetes itself. I mean the setup of Kubernetes. Okay, now you can set up Kubernetes in multiple ways. Like you can have Minikube. you can install Minikube. That is something uh, so that you can use the Kubernetes in your local machine. So locally, if you want to run Kubernetes locally, you can use Minikube, and for that just search Minikube installation, okay, in Google or Edge or whatever, and you will get the necessary docs. Okay, another thing that you can use, that is cloud. All the cloud providers like AWS, GCP, Azure all provide Kubernetes services, AKS, EKS, etc. So you can sign up there and create a service or the cloud objects, and set up properly to use the Kubernetes. Okay, that is for a better, or I'd say an advanced stuff or intermediate stuff, but it is the in general practice in production to use cloud for Kubernetes. Okay, so if you can do that, completely fine, and it is further in our learning we have to use that. Okay, another thing that you can use for practicing purpose is some online playgrounds. Okay, some online playgrounds. There are some online uh, services completely free that offers you some interface terminal so that you can practice your Kubernetes skills. Okay, like building pods. Okay, they will give you an isolated environment for some time. Okay, so if you pay them, the time may be extended, but I guess all have some limited amount of time, 1 hour, 4 hours, so that you can practice your Kubernetes skill. So there are some websites. You just need to simply search Kubernetes Playground on the web. Then there will be lots of suggestions and links where you can practice them. Okay, so I think you can do that by yourself. Another one is that using Docker itself. In Docker, you can pick up or pull a Kubernetes image, and it is called kind. Kubernetes with a K. Okay, it is called kind. Kubernetes inside Docker. Kubernetes in Docker. So these are some ways how we can install or set up Kubernetes. But for today's video's purpose, I'm gonna be using the online playground. Okay, because it will give me an isolated environments. Okay, in my local machine there are lots of containers, lots of images. It might make you confused or uh, make you curious that what are these, what are those. So I'm gonna pick an isolated environment, that is an online playground. Okay, and show you stuffs. Clear? So guys, we are gonna be needing Linux. We are gonna be needing text editor, YAML, and set a Kubernetes platform so that we can practice. So I'm not telling that you have to be an expert in Linux or text editor like Vim or Nano and YAML. No, just the basics is enough for you to get started. Clear? Okay. So up until now, what we have discussed, uh, what is pods, why do we need pods, and the prerequisite so that we can get on with the hands-on part. So let's get with it. First of all, let's go to our browser. Here you can see I have opened a site. It is called Killer Coda. It is really famous, and like I said, there are multiple websites that you can search. It also offers you some playgrounds, Kubernetes playgrounds for free so that you can practice your skills. So you can just type this, okay, killercoda.com. Fine. So here let's pick a playground, okay, Kubernetes playgrounds. Yeah, let's take 2 nodes, although we are not going to be using 2 nodes. Let it load. Yeah, here you go. So we have ourselves a terminal where we can practice the Kubernetes pods for today. Okay, let's make it uh, okay, it's better now. What else can I do? Yeah, it's better. So guys, it is a playground. It has a definite time here, as you can see, 60 minutes on the top right corner. You have to pay for the further usage. Okay, so but it will be enough for today. First of all, let's see what our files do we have in our system. Well, there are only two folders here, as you can see. Okay, let's see whether we have Docker installed. Docker version. Yes, we do have Docker installed here. Okay, and Kubernetes is set up since we are using Kubernetes playground in the first place. Okay, clear. So how do we create a pod? If we want to create a pod, first we need to have a container, right? If we have a container, only then we can package it up, right? So let's have a container, shall we? Let's have a Docker container. Let's say what to pull. Mm, let's pull Python. Docker pull Python, and it will go to Docker hub and pull a Python image, the latest version, since we have not mentioned anything. See? Clear? Okay. So let it import it. So basically what it is doing, we are running the command and it is going to Docker hub where lots of images are present, and it is picking the Python one for us and importing it to our system. Clear? It will be a Python image. Clear? The name will be Python. Okay? Okay, fine. Let's see. Yes, we have downloaded newer image for Python latest. It automatically imported the latest version. Okay? So the first part is done, that we have our container. We have our container, but we need to put it inside a pod. Wait. Sorry guys. We don't have the container. We have, what do we have? We have the image. We have the image. Okay. We ran a command. The command went to Docker hub and it picked the Python image, and we have our image in the system. But it is not a container. We need a container. So we have to make a container out of it. Image and container are not the same. Okay, if you want to uh, have all the facilities of Docker container, then you have to shift from image into a container. Okay, so that you can shift the container from one place to another and all the Docker facilities. So let's make the container. We have the image. So in order to make the container, we will be running docker run. Let's give the name of the container. Let's say Python cont or container. Okay, it is. Okay, Python container. And then we just mention the image name. Here the image name is Python. Okay, the image name is Python. If you don't understand, docker run is the command. This is the container naming part. Name equals to Python container, and at the very end we have the image name. Okay, this portion is the container name, this portion the middle portion, and the last portion is the image name. Okay, here we are not mentioning any ports or anything. Okay, let's skip that part and enter. Okay, now if you run docker ps, okay, docker ps all, since it is not running, it is stopped. Yeah, so you can see we have our docker container named python container. Okay, we have image python, we also have a container id. It is stopped for the time being. Okay, it is not running. So guys, what we have done so far, we have created the container out of an image. Now what is our goal? To convert it or put it inside a pod, like this, to package it inside a pod. So to do that, we're gonna have to make a file. Here comes our Vim, here comes our Linux, here comes our YAML. We have to make a YAML file. So we are gonna be using Vim text editor, VIM. Let me clear the page first, it will be easier for you. So we are gonna be using Vim, VIM, and make a file called pod.yaml. Clear? Vim is the text editor. You can use Nano, but I am using Vim. And the name of the YAML file will be pod.yaml. Okay, this is Linux. If you guys don't know, please do a quick tutorial on it. It's the very basic stuff. Let's give enter. Now in order to edit it, I have to press I key in my keyboard, I. Now as you can see, I'm in insert mode. In the very bottom, I'm in insert mode. After pressing I can now edit it. Okay, fine. How to make the YAML file? Be very careful here, please focus. We have some arguments. The first argument is called API version, colon. The second argument is called kind. The third one is metadata, and the fourth one is spec. These are the fundamental arguments of a YAML file in Kubernetes. In everything that you use, you're going to be creating anything, whether be it pod, whether be it replica set, deployment, stateful set. In every case, there will be these four fundamental arguments. Okay, for pod, the API version would be what? V1. The kind would be pod. The metadata, let me come to that part. But before that, please do remember that these things that you see, API version, kind, metadata, spec, this has to be exactly spelled. And if you want to create pod, then it has to be V1. Okay, exactly how I wrote it. The casing, the and spacing, etc. Okay, the casing has to be accurate. Similar thing goes for pod. If you write smaller case p here, I guess it won't work. Okay, the same thing goes for API version. The V is capital. If you write small letter V, it won't work. Okay, so you have to be very careful on this. So in order to create a API pod, we need the API version to be V1 and kind to be pod. Now the third argument, metadata. From here we are gonna have some sub argument. Okay, metadata is the main argument. We are gonna do double space, space 1, space 2. Okay, in YAML we don't use tab, we use 2 spaces. So it's gonna have a another argument, sub argument called name. Okay, called name, the name of the pod. We know what is metadata, right? Metadata is basically the details. Like if I give you an analogy, like you are an employee of a company. You have an ID card. In that ID card there are name, your ID, maybe your phone number, these details, these are the metadata. These are the metadata of you. Okay, there might be more. Okay, the details are called the metadata. So here the name inside metadata argument is basically the name of the pod. So here we are going to be using the pod name. Let's say first pod. Clear? First pod is our pod name. In the spec part there is also sub arguments, double space, and the argument here is containers. Containers. This is the argument where we encapsulate our container. Up until now, container is here and the pod we are creating is here. This needs to be together, okay? The container needs to get inside the pod, right? It has to be packaged. Now we are going to do the packaging in this argument called container. How? Well, inside the container argument itself, we are going to have another sub argument, that is first of all name. As you can see, there is a dash here. Dash means the container is a list, like Python list. In Python, what do you have? A equals 1, 2, 3, right? These are list, or you can think it like this. Okay, these, let's say 1, 2, 3. These three things are inside A. Similarly, the name here that you see is actually inside our container, let's say variable. Okay, container variable. So the name has to be accurate. Which container should get inside the pod? So what did we name our container? Python container. And another argument that needs to be get into here, there is no dash. Okay, the dash means one object, one item inside container. So the name and the image that we used in Python container, in this specific container. Clear, guys? Okay, and that's it. For the very basic pod, we don't need anything else, just the name of the Python container that we have in our system and the image that we have used. So let's get out of the text editor. How do we do that? Press exit esc, okay, then colon. In the top bottom left corner you are gonna see what I'm typing, colon W, and press enter. It will mean whatever you have written will be saved. Okay, it is basic Vim. Press enter and we are out. So if you want to see whether there's any file created, as you can see there's something called pod.yaml that we have created. Okay, if you want to see what is inside, then do a cat, and as you can see whatever there is inside my file, it is now printing. Clear? Okay. Up until now we have a container and we have created the YAML file so that we can create a pod out of the container. Okay, we still haven't made the pod. How we can make it? There's specific command, kubectl create -f. Okay, you will be seeing me using kubectl commands. Okay, everything that we are gonna do is going to be through kubectl. Kubectl is the thing that helps us to interact with the terminal, interact with the Kubernetes. Create is the function here in order to create -f flag that you see. It is basically indicating that we have a file. Okay, what file do we have? pod.yaml. Just press enter and your first pod is created. That's it, guys. We have created our very first pod. Okay, now if you want to see it, run this command kubectl get pods, and yes, as you can see, the name is first pod. The container inside is container creating. The status, as you can see, it is still running. Okay, it is being created. It is not finished. Okay, there's no restarts yet. Age is 90 seconds, 19 seconds. Okay, so all the details you can see here. The status will get might be pending, it might be successful. If it is running, it will show running. Clear? Okay, so we have created our first Kubernetes pod. So since you are seeing it first time, okay, here's you can see another thing, crash loop back off. There's something happened uh, inside the container. This is why it is updating. The first one was container creating, it was being created, but the second one here you can see crash loop back off. It means there's something wrong somewhere internally, and it caused us to restart the container and pod. It has restarted 2 times, as you can see. It will keep on doing it, keep on doing it, keep on doing it. Okay, like if we again run the pod, let's see, it has restarted 3 times but failed. Okay, there are some internal problems. Okay, but we have created it. We have created a container inside a pod. Okay, okay, let me summarize the process, and we have the further things to discuss. What we did is that we have an image, we made a container out of it, then we inputted it in our pod. To do that, what did we make? First of all, we created a YAML file, then we ran our kubectl create. This is our first way of doing things. Okay, so you guessed it right, there are other ways we can do the pod creation. How? Let me show you. Here you have created the image, or you can build the image. I just pulled it from the Docker Hub. You can create a Docker file and create an image, it's completely fine. Then we have made a container, then you have created the pod by creating YAML and running the command. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to skip the first 2 steps. We are not going to be creating an image, not going to be creating a container. We are just going to make a YAML file, okay, and run the command, and it will make our pod. And the main thing is that the pod is going to have our container inside it automatically. It is going to have our container inside it automatically. Clear? So let's do that one. Let's clear up the page. Yeah, let me show you the official documentation of Kubernetes. Just write Kubernetes pod, let's get inside, and here you will have all the details required for you to learn Kubernetes. So here we have a sample. Here you go, let's copy, let's build this one. Okay, what did I tell you? We are gonna make a YAML file at first. So let's make the YAML file. Let's make the YAML file. Okay, let it load. Yeah, so let's make the YAML file. Again, vim pod2.yaml, and simply just paste it. Paste. Okay, here you can see I haven't imported any image or container. Okay, but the name of the image is given directly inside the YAML file, as you can see here. Okay, I didn't create a separate container, but I'm just mentioning directly inside our pod. The name is nginx and the image is nginx 1.14.2. Clear? And here, as we can see, that another new argument is used, that is pods. You can mention the container pod inside your YAML file as well, in which the container is running. Clear? So let again colon wq, let's do ls. As you can see, we have our pod and pod2 YAML. Let's create kubectl create f, sorry, it's create f pod2.yaml and nginx created. Now if we run kubectl get, the get commands gives you all the stuff that you need. We need pod, so yes. The previous one is continued to crashing, and it is restarting. It has restarted 5 times, okay? And the new one that we have created is running. So here you can see that there is one container and one is running. But in the first one, as you can see, there is one container but it is not running. It is not running. As you can see, the status is crashing, and for the second one it is running. It is currently active. Also you can see the age as well. Clear? If you want to see further, I guess there's a flag. Okay, it's the wrong flag. So as you can see, you can create the pod in two ways. You can either create the container separately, or you can directly mention it inside the YAML file. There's another way. There's another way where we are gonna skipping this as well. We are not gonna create any YAML file. Rather, we are gonna directly use kubectl to create pod, and guess what? It will still have the container. Okay, how? Let me show you. That there is something called imperative commands and something called declarative commands in Kubernetes. The YAML file that you do, okay, the configuration format that you do inside YAML, this is declarative. Like you are declaring, let me show you pod YAML. You are declaring API version, what API version should be, what the kind of the object should be, what the name should be. Each time you are declaring each argument, right? This is why it is called declarative. But in imperative, you don't create any YAML file. Okay, you just mention the arguments directly, not creating a separate file. Rather, you put the arguments directly in kube command. Okay, you are not creating a separate file. So you might be wondering that this one is better, right? As we are creating a file, then we have it. So I guess we can do it manually. But you might also be wondering that since it is directly implementing our YAML file, then why should we need this one, right? We don't need declarative one, we can use imperative one. Well, the answer is that we use imperative commands like for quick use. Quick use. If you are in hurry and in practicality, or if you write this whole thing, this is the easiest uh, YAML format or YAML configuration for a pod you can imagine. Just this 6 to 7 line of codes and really simple configuration. But still, just imagine if you forgot to place the V here. you did it in small letters, what will happen? The pod won't get created, right? The pod won't get created. And as a result, after doing everything, you might wonder what is the what have I done wrong? What have I done wrong? This is case one. Another thing is that writing all of this correctly, it also takes a bit of time. Okay, so why do that? Right. So what do? We just get a outline by the imperative commands. Okay, it is far easier if we just need a single pod creation, or if we just need the template that you see in the here. We just need the basic template of our pod. It might be deployments. In that case, we use imperative commands. Now let me show you how it is exactly done. We're gonna do nothing. Kubectl, directly kubectl create, and here we only gonna mention our pod name. Let's say pod 3 and the argument. See the image argument here, we're gonna mention it here. Okay, the pod 3 that you see, it is actually this one. Okay, so let's mention the image equals to, let's say it is also nginx, and just enter it. Unknown flag image. Okay, I think it's images. Hold on a minute. Uh, mm, what's the wrong? Okay, just hold on. Let me just search it. A silly mistake I've made. So don't worry, guys. Let me check. This is also part of learning, right? Okay, no need to worry. Or I can give it to Copilot as well. Let's see. Mm, mm, Okay, paste it and run it. So what did I make mistake? Oh, I did kubectl create. It is kubectl run. Sorry for my mistake. Here it is. Image, it is also correct. I used the wrong command here. Sorry. So you need run command and then enter, and you have pod 3 created. Now if you want to see kubectl get pods to see all of the pods that we have, as you can see, the first one is still crashing, and it has crashed 7 times, and we have the second two running the edge as well. Clear? So guys, these are the 3 ways that you can make a pod. Okay, as you can see, I have shown you hands on how you can do it. Clear? Okay. Now you might be wondering that what is kubectl and what are those commands? Well, basically kubectl is the thing that allows you to interact with the Kubernetes. Okay, so you have to know them. So there is a hack in memorizing them. You will be able to memorize this by practicing a lot. Okay, and sometimes make silly mistakes like me. Okay, this is a really silly mistakes, but still there's something called kubectl cheat sheet, official cheat sheet. Let me show you guys. Where's the official one? mm, wait, there's an official cheat sheet from Kubernetes. Yes, found it. Kubectl quick reference, and here you can see all the commands that you are gonna be using and needing. Okay, you can go through them or practice while you need them. Okay, and This will make it easier for you. There are also extensions, okay, flags. There are lots of stuffs to recall here, okay. So guys, another thing, if you get stuck, don't forget to use AI, chat gpt, etc. This will make your life easier, okay, and it will help you learn fast. So that's it guys. As you can see, we have created 3 pods today in 3 ways, okay. And another thing is that I can show you some kubectl commands. Like I have shown you kubectl get, right? I've shown you kubectl um, run. So if you want to see everything that is present inside your cluster, you can do this kubectl all. Everything that is present, you will have it. You didn't see this one up until now. Since I have inputted all argument, it is showing every object that is present in my control plane. Okay, there's a service object too, that we were not seeing earlier. Okay, there's another command. If you want to see anything in details, you can use kubectl describe. So let's see in details our pod 3, shall we? Okay, we have to mention it is a pod. Okay, so after this you can have the details, okay, starting from here. As you can see, the name is pod 3, the namespace a different thing, the namespace there, the service account, the node, everything detailed is present here. So you can do that through kubectl describe command, okay. Another thing is that since our pod one pod is not running properly, let me show you. The first pod, it is not running properly and it has crashed 8 times. So let's get rid of it, shall we can do that also by using delete kubectl delete first pod. Okay, we have to mention pod here, sorry again, pod. Now if you press enter, and first pod is deleted. So that's it guys, that's it. So let me give you a quick recap of the entire session today. Well, first of all, we have discussed what is pod. Well, basically pod is the smallest unit inside Kubernetes cluster, and it basically packages containers. Here we have Docker container, and by packaging it is introducing our container to the Kubernetes ecosystem. So we have covered, first of all, it introduces the container in Kubernetes. Secondly, if we package it up in pod, we get all the benefits of Kubernetes like auto scaling, auto healing, monitoring, etc. This is why we need pods. After that, we have described the prerequisite in order to get started with Kubernetes pods. You need a basic understanding of Linux, the text editors like Vim, Nano. You need basic understanding of YAML, and you need a Kubernetes setup in your machine. It can be local machine using Minikube. It can be any cloud provider. It can be Docker kind, or you can use an isolated environment online, like I have used Killer Coda to demonstrate all the things today. Okay, then we have discussed that how we can create a pod, and we have described 3 ways to creating a pod. First of all, we have we in the first uh, part, we have imported or pulled the image from Docker Hub, then created a container out of it, then created the YAML file, the configuration file, and ran the kubectl command in order to create the pod. In the second method, we excluded these two. We directly created the YAML file, and it still created the pod and also had the container inside it. In the third way, we directly used kubectl disregarding the YAML file, okay, and created the pod having a container. I have discussed further that what is the imperative command and declarative command. In the third way, we basically using the imperative commands in creating the pod. Why we use imperative commands? Because it is fast, it is quick to use, it gives us a quick outline. Okay, but if we want to have better flexibility, better control, we will be using declarative commands. In most cases we will be using declarative commands for configuration, but for quick use, a quick creation, a quick outline, we will be using imperative commands all the time, because it will it is will help us be faster and without any mistakes. Okay, so this was about all about pods, a beginner friendly pod session. Okay, so there are other stuffs to do with pods. Okay, there are like you have multi-container pods. Okay, there are networking of pods, etc. So there are a lot to learn in pod. If you just go to the documentation, if you search a little, then you can see there are lots of stuffs to do. Okay, pod lifecycle, init containers, what is init container, what is side container, ephemeral container, and lots of other stuff. But we will be learning step by step, and this was the first step in Kubernetes pods. So guys, to learn the rest of the stuff, stay tuned, and that's it for today. So yeah, bye bye.